Good morning, everyone. It's November 1st. I had to remind myself. And I think we could go to the next slide. We want to say good morning. My name is Jen.
I'm
And,
Kate.
and I'm Elizabeth. Thanks for being with us again this morning on this cold and rainy Connecticut morning.
I know it feels very fall-like. I have my cardigan on. I have my coffee. It's not pumpkin coffee though. That's too
Unfortunately,
adventurous for me. I don't know. Is anyone else? And hi to everyone in the chat. Good morning. We're so happy you're here. And oh no, someone's husband keeps stealing the mug. We were just talking about good mugs. You got to hold on to that. Tell
I'll
him we
hide it
said so.
from him.
Anyway, thanks for coming today. We wanted to kick it off because I feel like this buzz brings us so much joy, and we always are so excited to talk to you. And we thought, what better way to talk about books this morning than kicking it off with gratitude and what we're grateful for. So we wanted to ask you, what book are you most grateful for this month? And I guess I'll ask my lovely panelists as well. Elizabeth, what book are you grateful for this lovely November morning?
Well, I am grateful for, you can see in my photo, I don't know if you can see it, it's a little far away. I am currently listening to Sophie Kinsella's The Burnout, and it is so fun. I think I fell in love with Sophie Kinsella in the first 5 pages of Confessions of a Shopaholic, like that many years ago. And I just love her. She is one of those authors who makes me genuinely laugh out loud. And I think laughter is just so wonderful and so comforting. And I'm so grateful for it. And this book is so much fun. I mean, it starts out with a woman like drowning under piles of emails and an HR rep who comes up to her asking her when she's next going to log in to log her joy in the joyfulness program on their HR site. And there may or may not be a chase scene with a nun. Um, so it's so much fun, and there's romance, and there's depth, and there's so much laughter, and that's what's bringing me joy and what I'm grateful for this month. How about you, Kate?
So I think I can pretty much always say that I'm grateful for Ina Garten. She is quite simply the best. I think a bunch of other people will say the same, but especially coming into like this kind of cold holiday season, I'm really grateful for her. I'm currently in the depths of go-to dinners. As a person who is still kind of on their learning to cook journey, she is just the best. It is like the gospel of easy cooking. And I've been really grateful to be able to read her books and take in some of her wisdom recently.
I think I'm always going to be on the journey to learning to cook spectrum, so I'm with you, Kate.
You beat me to it. And speaking of characters that are very into fine foods, I chose the Very Hungry Caterpillar, which I'm sure you all know, and it seems like a very literary choice, but it's just the best. And both of my kids were the Very Hungry Caterpillar for their first Halloweens, respectively, with many thanks. Shout out to a lovely librarian friend who made that costume. And I cannot get my children to sleep at night without reading this, but also like we have to go through all of the caterpillar books. Like, thank God some of them are not that long because I'll just get a pile of the Hungry Caterpillar books, and there are so many to love. But the original, of course, brings us so much joy, and also the audiobook, which is so genius. It's got two versions, one read by Kevin R. Free, who's phenomenal, and my kids love his voice, and he reads all of the Hungry Caterpillar audiobooks. And then there's also the version read by Eric Carle himself, which is amazing and also makes bedtime a little easier when you can listen to it twice through, and it helps. So I just have so much gratitude for Eric Carle's beautiful art and stories, and especially for the Very Hungry Caterpillar. And I wonder what Ina Garten would do with all the ingredients inside. I'm sure she could make something absolutely amazing.
Probably chef of something beautiful for Jeffrey.
That's right, of course. And as I mentioned, if you want to flip to the next slide, I just had to give another shout out. There are so many incredible books and audiobooks from the world of Eric Carle, and there are a lot that are coming out this winter in December. So I just had to give a special shout out to many of these that you may know or may not know are coming, and they're so great. And I'm so excited to make my bedtime with my children even more delicious and exciting with these new books in this world. So that's what I'm really grateful for. And we're grateful to all of you, and we hope that you'll tell us in the comments what you're grateful for reading this month or eating, or, you know, if you have a lot of Halloween candy, could be grateful for that. Have it ready to go. This is also the best day to go buy Halloween candy, right? So thanks for being here when you could be, you know, getting all the good candy on sale. So this morning, you may or may not know, but this is our key. So HC is for hardcover, TR is for trade paperback, LP is for large print, ebook is an ebook, and the orange E, which looked like a pumpkin next month. We're back to just our regular fall repertoire here. That means the e-galley is available. So we hope that if you're excited about what you hear today, that you request it and you get an early read on it. And then of course, DN is audio download and CD is compact disc. And I'm always happy to tell you more about the audio editions as well. And we also wanted to remind you about this fantastic website that celebrates letting kids read. So we wanted to tell you from Penguin Random House what we are doing, from protecting books in court to partnering with our wonderful authors, teachers, librarians, like all of you, parents and caregivers. And we're committed to getting books on the shelves, back on the shelves in some cases, and into the hands of the readers who want and need them most. And so whether you're directly affected by book bans, which I know many of you have been, or if you simply want to learn more about the issue, this is the place to go. We want to tell you what we're doing and what you can do, and we highlight some of the most impactful ways that you can get involved. So we hope you'll head over to this website, and we will send more information in the wrap up if you want to just have an easy way to click on over.
We also wanted to let you know about two wonderful, exciting virtual events coming up. Next week, next Thursday, is the Library Journal LibraryCon Live event, and we hope that you'll join us. Max Brooks is going to be giving the afternoon keynote, so that is massively exciting. He's wonderful. And then it's basically a day of all things fandom. For all of your fandom needs, there will be panels on horror, on romance, on fairies, and everything in between. So we hope you will join for that. And then we are thrilled to be bringing back our Winter Book and Author Festival in December. So December 7th is the date. We hope you will sign up and register. And we are over the moon that Tommy Orange has agreed to be our morning keynote speaker at that festival. We're just so excited, and we have an amazing, robust lineup of authors. Invitations are out, their acceptances are rolling in each day, and we hope you'll register and check back in with us. We'll have more panel announcements soon, and we're just so thrilled to be hosting this great event again in December.
All right, and then as many of you may know, we have a couple new samplers that have been recently posted to our website, specifically our graphic novel and fandom sampler, and then our fall 2023 debut fiction sampler. You can find all of these on our website, which again, you may know has been recently updated, as well as many more from the past couple years.
For Native American Heritage Month, we are so excited to share with you a wonderful collection of books to celebrate on our blog, and we hope you'll take a look. This includes books from important history to personal stories from Indigenous voices, and we wanted to highlight a book that is not out yet, but it's coming in April of 2024. This is Native Nations, A Millennium in North America. This is a sweeping history of the power of Indigenous North America, from ancient cities to the fight for sovereignty that still continues today. This is a book from award-winning historian Kathleen Duvall, and as she tells this story, which covers over 1,000 years of history, she reframes North American history with Indigenous power and sovereignty at the center. So we hope you'll take a look for that book coming in April. We had it at one of our recent conferences. It is a big, hefty, really well-researched book, so we hope that you will take a look for your collections.
All right, now on to some book club picks. And we know we're talking to the right crowd who are gonna wanna come and get it. And I'm so excited to kick it off with Kylie Reed. So I missed my other line, guys. I was gonna say, this is such a fun way to kick off the book buzz.
Well done, Jen.
Thank you. I couldn't miss it, you guys. So of course, Kylie Reed's debut, Such a Fun Age, was a #1 Library Reads pick in December 2019. Thanks to you. It was longlisted for the Booker Prize. It was an instant New York Times bestseller. It was Reese's book club pick. I could go on. And also, there will be TV news coming soon. And I love, if you didn't get a chance to check her out, years ago, she was on The Daily Show. And she said in her interview about Such a Fun Age that she loves awkward moments, that she just can't get enough of them. And I think that really speaks to the humanity and the ups and downs and interesting choices that her characters make, that she's become known for. And we can expect more of the same that we love in Come and Get It. So this is a fresh and provocative new story about a residential assistant and her messy entanglement with a professor and 3 unruly students. It starts in 2017. If we can remember back to those those days at the University of Arkansas, and Millie Cousins is a senior resident assistant, and she wants to graduate, she wants to get a job, she wants to buy a house. And then Agatha Paul is a visiting professor and a writer, and she offers Millie an easy yet unusual chance to make some money. And it ends up getting very complicated in the dorms, as drama does. And there's also a great interview that PW came out with just last week. And it describes, this novel as depicting a group of women whose lives intersect in a narrative about bad decisions, shaky ethics, and desire, both material and sexual. Because Agatha, who's this white journalist and professor, when she arrives to work on this book about weddings, she ends up becoming fascinated by these students and their relationship to money. And so then Millie, who is the dorm's Black RA, is both infatuated with Agatha, but also finds a way to take advantage of this relationship a little bit. And then this series of online student profiles that they're gathering info for kind of turns into a bit of an ethics problem for journalism. So Booklist has already called this a deft exploration of how microaggressions can lead to macro consequences. In Reed's second outing will appeal to readers who enjoy slow burn, character-driven novels. And they also call it out for having appeal to a YA audience, which we always love to make note of as well, especially for the collegiate setting and the focus on different students in the dorm there. And Kate, I know you already loved
Yeah,
your early read on this.
yeah, I was lucky enough to read this past summer, excuse me. And I will just say, this definitely has some of the awkward moments that Such a Fun Age has. At times it is an uncomfortable read, but in the best possible way, like in the way that Kylie Reid is known for. I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was great. I think I tore through it in like a day and a half. So highly recommend.
I'm sure she would love that you fully approve and also enjoy those awkward moments.
Yeah.
And then next up, I just always wondered, what would I wear if I were going to be on a baking show? Did you guys ever think about that? Like, what would your outfit be if you were going to enter a baking competition? So I think this is what I would wear. What do you think?
Jen, you're ready to be alongside on Lessons in Chemistry. You are.
I try my best. And speaking of Lessons in Chemistry, what a segue. If you're a fan of Lessons in Chemistry or The Great British Bake Off, you will love Mrs. Quinn's Rise to Fame by Olivia Ford. It's huge-hearted, it's a redemptive coming of old age tale. It's a love story and it's an ode to good food. So who doesn't love that? And I love that it's a different type of love story that shows us the pleasures and the complexities of steadfast companionship about a couple that's been together a long time. And it has British charm and delicious food writing. And so I'll tell you a little bit about Mrs. Quinn. Nothing could be more out of character, but after 59 years of marriage, as her husband Bernard's health declines and her friends' lives become focused on their grandchildren, which Jenny never had, Jenny decides she wants a little something for herself. So she secretly applies to be a contestant on the primetime TV show Britain Bakes. And fun fact about the author, she's actually spent a decade in entertainment TV, including on Made in Chelsea and Love Island. So she knows a thing or two. I wonder what she would think of my competition outfit here. So whisked into an unfamiliar world of cameras and time challenges, Jenny delights in this newfound independence, but that independence and the stress of the competition starts to unearth memories buried decades ago. And so chocolate tea cakes remind her of a furtive errand involving a wedding ring, sugared donuts call up a stranger's kind act, and a simple cottage loaf brings back the moment her life changed forever. So with her baking star rising, Jenny struggles to keep a lid, I love all these puns, on that first secret, a long concealed deceit that threatens to shatter the very foundations of her marriage. It's the only time in 6 decades that she's kept something from Bernard, but by putting herself in the limelight, has Jenny created a recipe for disaster. I'm just so excited for this. I think you are all going to eat it right up. And we're just so thrilled to introduce you to Mrs. Quinn.
I have no puns in my presentation, Jen.
Oh,
I
well, then
feel
I'll just take my
inadequate.
hat off then because
Yeah, I can't say I have too many either. Especially considering my next one up is The Little Liar by Pascal Robert Diard. This is actually a French work in translation by an acclaimed French journalist, which explores why a teenage victim lied about her rape and how the disadvantaged eventually become scapegoats. We follow 15-year-old Lisa, who is a typical teenager, but when her demeanor takes a sudden turn, her teachers begin to suspect that there's something going on, that it's something worse than your typical teenage moodiness. Lisa eventually confesses to them that she's been abused multiple times, and the suspicion surrounding that abuse quickly falls on a worker who's done projects at her parents' house named Marco. Years later, guilt eats away at Lisa, and she decides to break free of her parents' legal counsel and finds a small local attorney who helps her basically make amends with her previous lies. This is definitely a 180 from Mrs. Quinn's Rise to Fame, but is bound to be a really, really interesting read, a great read for book clubs. It'll bring up a lot of really important questions and is kind of consistently timely. And then next up, I also have Wandering Stars by Tommy Orange. I feel as though there's not much I can say to make you want to read this book even more. It is Tommy Orange. It's the eagerly awaited follow-up to his breakout bestseller, There, which also won the Penn Hemingway Award, the John Leonard Prize, the American Book Award. I could keep going for hours. I could absolutely exhaust myself talking about Tommy Orange. But while this is not technically a sequel, it kind of acts as a follow-up to There. Wandering Stars traces the legacy of the Sand Creek Massacre of 1864 and the Carlisle Industrial School for Indians through to the aftermath of the shooting of Orville Redfeather, who is one of the main characters in There. This, again, is going to just be an incredible read. I'm really looking forward to this one myself. And we're really excited to be able to have Tommy Orange come and speak with us soon.
Yeah, so excited for that.
So excited.
And then another author who needs very little introduction, and it's always cause for celebration when there's a new novel from Anna Quinlan. She is beloved. And this new novel, After Annie, is a story of family and love and loss and moving on. It, of course, will appeal to the many, many legions of fans for Anna Quinlan, as well as readers of J. Courtney Sullivan and Elizabeth Strout. So we begin. Annie Brown dies suddenly, and then her husband and her children and her closest friend are left to find their way forward without her, without this woman who's been the linchpin in all of their relationships. Bill is overwhelmed without his beloved wife. Anne Marie wrestles with the bad habits that her friend was helping her overcome. And Allie, the eldest of Annie's children, has to grow up virtually overnight to help care for her younger brothers and even her father and try to puzzle out the mysteries of adulthood on her own. And over the course of the next year, what saves them all is that Annie is really ever present in their minds. Her voice is in their heads. It's funny and sharp and clear. And she's basically given the power to all these people who she's loved, the ability to go on without her. And the lesson is that when people are gone, they never really are truly gone. They're always still with you. Quinlan tackles really tough topics in this book, but with deep and generous understanding and humanity. And it's a book that's ultimately about hope and about the unexpected power of adversity to change us in profound and moving ways. So a great new novel coming from Anna Quinlan. And then I'm really excited also to tell you about the next novel from Thea Obrecht. This is the new book from the award-winning and renowned The Tiger's Wife, which was I'm sorry, yes, The Tiger's Wife, which was fantastic. The new novel is The Morning Side. It's a magical novel about mothers and daughters, displacement and belonging, and myths old and new. And we begin with Sylvia. Sylvia and her mother have been expelled from their ancestral homeland, and they're in a not so distant future. They are settling in the Morningside, which is a crumbling luxury tower in a place called Island City. And Sylvia's Aunt Ina is the superintendent there. Sylvia feels completely unmoored because her mother is very secretive about her family's past, and because this new city where they're living is half underwater. She almost knows nothing about the place where she was born and the early years that she spent there, and she has no idea really why she and her mother left. But her Aunt Ina offers this window. She's willing to give the young girl glimpses into the folk tales of her demolished homeland, and Sylvia becomes enchanted by these stories and begins to see the world as a magical place of possibilities. This is a novel about the stories we tell and the stories we refuse to tell to make sense of where we came from and the hope what we might become. It is a perfect book for book clubs, clearly, and for readers who loved A Long Petal of the Sea, Sea of Tranquility, Exit West, and Demon Copperhead. And if you were at LJ Dave Dialogue, Taya was one of the panelists there. She's just so wonderful and lovely, and there's so much depth in her books, and the recurring themes of folklore and magic in sort of desperate times infuses all her work. So I hope that you will pick this one up too. She's wonderful.
All right, so on to some historical fiction. And the reviews for The Mayor of Maxwell Street are coming through. And it's a debut by author Avery Cunningham. And it's an epic love story. It's a riveting historical drama. And it's a brilliant exploration of Black society and perseverance when the 20s first began to roar. And just to give you a little hint at some of what our fellow readers are saying, you may have heard of Victoria Christopher Murray, the New York Times bestselling author of The Personal Librarian. And she said this is a debut novel everyone will be talking about. It's outstanding. It's filled with intrigue, suspense, and a cast of characters I both adored and wanted to strangle. This novel kept me flipping the pages and holding my breath. And I love that description. And also, having just come from our book club slide, I mean, what's better than discussing characters that you both love and hate at the same time? This has riveting and impactful writing, and it's inspired by The Great Gatsby, which is another fun little tidbit. So when a rich Black debutante enlists the help of a low-level speakeasy manager to identify the head of an underground crime syndicate, the two are thrust into a dangerous world of Prohibition-era Chicago. It's 1921, and Nellie Sawyer is the daughter of a rich man who's catapulted his family to the heights of Black society. But after the unexpected death of her only brother, Nellie becomes the premier debutante overnight. But she has aspirations beyond society influence. She wants to be an investigative journalist. And for the past year, she's actually been working undercover as an investigative journalist, sharing the achievements and tribulations of everyday Black people living in the shadow of Jim Crow. And her latest assignment thrusts her into the den of a dangerous vice lord, the so-called mayor of Maxwell Street. This has incredible characters. Her path crosses with Jay, who runs the swankiest speakeasy, and he teaches her, you know, how she can extend beyond the confines of her ivory tower. And together, they work together, and they stoke the flames of a love worth fighting for. And we think you'll just love this historical drama. And I'll read you one more quote because there are so many good ones to pick from. Nathan Harris, who's the author of The Sweetness of Water, says, I was transfixed from the first page. Readers will feel transported to another time and confront issues and characters that feel eminently prescient. This is not one to miss. And then next up, A Wild Heavenly Place by Robin Oliveira. This is perfect for readers of sweeping love stories and deeply researched historical fiction, which we know you love, you fans of Lisa Wingate and Jojo Moyes and Martha Hall Kelly and Fiona Davis and Melanie Benjamin, Alison Pataki, and also maybe the film Far and Away. So this is for all of you. We're so thrilled to share with you the return of the New York Times bestselling author of My Name is Mary Sutter. This is a sweeping story of star-crossed lovers and the birth of Seattle, which is so fascinating. And I actually realized I didn't actually know much about. So how far would you go and how much would you risk? Great book club questions to add into the conversation as well. So you'll meet Haley McIntyre, and she seems conjured from the depths of Samuel Feedy's loneliness. Caring for his young sister in the tenements of Glasgow, Scotland, Samuel has known only hunger, while Haley has never known want. Yet when Samuel saves Haley's brother from a runaway carriage, their connection is undeniable. Through secret meetings and stolen moments, their improbable love grows. But then the city of Glasgow Bank fails, and Haley's bankrupt father impulsively moves their family across the globe to Seattle, a city rumored to have coal in its hills and easy money for anyone willing to work for it. Samuel's haunted by Haley's parting words: "Remember Washington Territory." Armed only with his wits, he is determined to follow her, leaving behind everything he's ever known in search of Haley and the chance of a better life for his sister. This is poignant and lyrical. It's an ode to the Pacific Northwest, and to those who want to chase the American dream, and to love that's so powerful it endures beyond distance and beyond hope.
There are so many notes in the chat about how many great books there are, and I just want to say, I know that I work here, but there are so many great books, and I love the last slide, and I love this slide, and what I love about these books, and you'll hear more in a second, there's they're inspired by true histories. It's historical fiction. Like place is such an important thing in so many of these books. So with that, I'll move on to American Daughters, which place is really important into. I'm so excited about this book. This is for fans of propulsive historical fiction like The Underground Railroad or The Water Dancer or The Prophets. Maurice Carlos Ruffin is the award-winning author of We Cast a Shadow, and this new book, The American Daughters, is a mix of cinematic historical fiction. There's a love story, there's a bit of spy intrigue, and it's about a spirited girl who joins a sisterhood working to undermine the Confederates. So Addie is our main character. She is curious and sharp-witted, and her fierce mother, Sanit, they're inseparable, but they are enslaved to a businessman in the French Quarter in New Orleans, and they spend their time dreaming of the days of a loving future and reminiscing about their family's rebellious and storied past. But then when mother and daughter are separated, Addie is basically left hopeless and directionless until she stumbles into a place called the Mockingbird Inn and meets Lenore, a free Black woman with whom she becomes fast friends. Lenore then invites Addie to join a clandestine society of spies called the Daughters. And with the courage instilled in her by Sanit and the help from these other strong women, Addie learns to put herself first and to begin her journey toward liberation and imagining a new future. The American Daughters is a novel of hope and triumph. It has adventure and surprises, and it's inspired by true little note events that Maurice found when researching in his hometown of New Orleans. So I think this is just going to be fantastic. And then another novel inspired by true events that is a book for book lovers, truly, and for fans of female focused World War II novels like the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society and the Alice Network and the Paris Orphan is The Underground Library. This is the new novel from Jennifer Ryan, who is the author of the Tilbury Ladies Choir, and this is a heartwarming novel based, as I said, on true events, which takes place during the Blitz, and three determined women at its heart. The new deputy librarian, Juliet Lansdowne, finds that Bethnal Green Library isn't the buzzing, bustling place that she was expecting, and she becomes determined to breathe new life back into it. But can she show the men in charge that a woman is up to the task of running it? And then there's Katie Upwood, who is thrilled to be working at the library, although she's only there until she heads off to university in the fall. But then, after the death of her beau on the front line, she finds herself harboring a life-changing secret with no one to turn to. And then Sophie Bauman is a young Jewish refugee who came to London on a domestic service visa and found herself working as a maid for a man who treats her absolutely terribly. She escapes to the library at every chance she can and finds friendship in the literary community and aid in trying to find her sister who's still trying to flee occupied Europe. When the bombs begin to destroy the library, Juliet relocates the stacks to the local underground station where the city's residents shelter nightly. And she's determined to lend out stories that will keep their spirits up. But tragedy after tragedy threatens to unmoor these women. And will Kate and Juliet and Sophie be able to overcome their own troubles to save the library? Or will the beating heart of their neighborhood be lost forever? This is inspired by the true story of the Bethnal Green Library, whose collection was moved largely into tube stations during World War II. And then Ryan infuses this story with so much charm and community and hope, and I hope that you will love it too.
I had a feeling, Alyssa, I think you're speaking for many, right? OMG, as a librarian, I cannot wait to read that book. I'm so excited to hear what all of you think about this too, and to hear from Jennifer about her research would be so fascinating.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that one as well. It sounds like just an incredible read. But then next up, I actually have two American-based historical fiction books, first of which being James by Percival Everett. This is from the quote-unquote literary icon, according to none other than Oprah herself, Pulitzer Prize finalist and one of the most decorated writers of this lifetime. Comes James, an action-packed retelling of the adventures of Huckleberry Finn from the enslaved Jim's point of view. So we begin when Jim overhears that he is about to be sold to a man in New Orleans, be separated from his wife and daughter forever, when he decides to hide on nearby Jackson Island until he can formulate a plan to escape. Meanwhile, Huck Finn, as we know, has faked his death to escape his violent father and has recently returned to town. As most readers, many readers of American literature know, thus begins the dangerous and transcendent journey by raft down the Mississippi River towards the elusive and often unreliable promise of free states beyond. While many of the narrative pieces set by the adventures of Huckleberry Finn remain in place in James, Jim's agency, intelligence, and compassion are shown in a radically new light. This is going to be great for those who are both fans of classic American literature and critics of classic American literature. I'm really looking forward to this one personally, as somebody who, like many of us, I'm sure, was, I don't want to say forced, was assigned to read The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn in high school. And was able to read it critically and look at it in a modern lens. I'm really looking forward to this retelling and see more of Jim as a really well-formed and really fun character. So really looking forward to this one. And then kind of in a similar vein, we have Bunyan and Henry, or The Beautiful Destiny. This is a reimagining of beloved all-American legends, and it's an epic debut novel that brings the myth of Paul Bunyan and John Henry alive like never before. The two team up for an adventure with deeper interrogations of race, class, and industrialization. Bunyan, as we know, is a massive lumberjack. In this situation, he's kind of down on his luck, and he moves to Chicago, the Windy City, in search of a better life. There he meets John Henry, who is not yet the steel drive-in man we now know in American folklore, but a fugitive on the run from a rigged, racist prison system. As Bunyan and Henry work to reunite with the families they love, they must work together to solve riddles, forge weapons, brawl with a behemoth, and confront at every turn the relentless and duplicitous El Bofo. So this is a really imaginative reinvention of the myth of Bunyan and Henry. It's a timeless quest, a fresh origin story, and a modern fable that wrestles with the two sides of the American dream, those being its wild idealism and its cruel underbelly. This is a really interesting read. If you enjoyed the HBO show Our Flag Means Death, you'll love this. It has a similar kind of alternative view of masculinity and how we traditionally view manly characters. And while it is a pointedly political book, especially in today's day and age, it also remains very optimistic. So yeah, this is going to be exciting. And Mark Cecil is a debut author, so this is a really fun way for him to kind of emerge onto the literary scene. I'm really looking forward to this one.
And for those who were at LJDA of Dialogue, Percival Everett was on a panel there as well, and he was just amazing. So if you haven't watched it, go back and watch it. He's just wonderful.
Okay, well, must read nonfiction. Did we say good morning yet? I'm not sure. I'm not. Good morning, everyone. I don't think I've ever defined myself as a morning person, although sometimes kids force you to pretend to be one. So I am the perfect person who really, really needs The Miracle Morning. And this is for fans of James Clear's Atomic Habits, which is just unbelievable how much your patrons have just been showing us how needed that book has been, and also Charles Duhigg's The Power of Habit. This is for ambitious readers looking to create reliable daily habits with less mess, yes, please, and more success. And this is also great for existing members of the Miracle Morning community because this is an updated edition, I should add. It has more than 40 pages of new content, which includes the Miracle Evening, the Miracle Life, and it's just really great for graduates or for anyone who just wants to find out how they can get a little more out of their mornings. And it's not about doing more, which I was happy to learn. It's about becoming more. It's already helped millions of people, as I've said, and now it's our turn if you've missed it. So sign me up. Hal, the author, has a revolutionary savers method, SAVERS. And it's a simple, effective, step-by-step process to transform your life in as little as 6 minutes per day, which sounds pretty incredible. And so I'll just tell you what SAVERS stands for. It stands for silence, affirmations, visualization, exercise, and scribing. And so I'm just so excited about this. It's a simple routine for personal transformation, which we know really speaks volumes to readers everywhere based on those initial comps that I mentioned. And it's accessible, it's adaptable, and I love that this is updated and expanded for fans who already love it, that want more. And also the author has just an incredible uplifting personal story where when you learn about what he's been through, you think, well, if he can, find out how to make a miracle out of 6 minutes in his morning, anyone can do it. I mean, he has survived a near fatal car crash and cancer and has transformed his life. And I highly recommend looking him up and hearing more about his story and then sharing the Miracle Morning with all of your patrons.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Hal would approve of my current routine of rolling over and getting right on my phone every morning. Maybe I need to switch
You
it
would
up.
believe that he could help you one person at a time.
Well, thanks.
And it's so, I think that the personal stories from a lot of these authors are so powerful. I think that's something that affected me so much with Atomic Habits, hearing his story of what sort of took him on this journey. So it's great to hear that there's, if there are people like you said who can overcome real obstacles and find 6 minutes to make their morning start the day well, that's really nice. The next book is a name that I'm sure is familiar to many of you. You'll remember Eric Kleinenberg as author of Palaces for the People, which was an inspiring blueprint for the future of democratic societies, which basically said that we can't just rely on shared values, we have to rely on shared spaces too, like libraries, churches, and parks, where crucial connections are formed. And now Kleinenberg is back with another important work. 2020, one city, 7 people, and the year that changed everything. 2020 will go down alongside 1914, 1929, and 1968 as one of the most consequential years in history. And this riveting and affecting book is the first attempt to capture the full human experience of that fateful time. At the heart of 2020 are 7 vivid profiles of ordinary New Yorkers, including an elementary school principal, a bar manager, a subway custodian, and a political aide, whose experiences illuminate how Americans and people across the globe reckoned with 2020. Through these poignant stories, we revisit our own moments of hope and fear, the profound tragedy and loss in our communities, and the social movements that hinted about the possibility of a better world. Kleinenberg also cast these stories against the backdrop of the high stakes presidential election, the surge of misinformation, rising distrust, and raging protests. We move from the epicenter in New York City to Washington and London, and we bear witness to the battles in Wuhan and Beijing as well. 2020 is a gripping and meticulously reported, character driven, unforgettable exploration of a time when nothing was certain and everything was at stake. And Kleinenberg not only helps us reckon with what we lived through, but also the challenges that we may face in the future. So, another amazing, important work from Kleinenberg about a time that for all of us was so consequential. And now onto a different book, but I think it might be a companion to the Sophie Kinsella book that I was talking about earlier. Not intentionally done, but perhaps the world is trying to tell me something. This is The Cure for Burnout from burnout management coach and TikTok influencer Emily Ballesteros. It's for readers of practical self-help like Atomic Habits and the Book of Boundaries. So if dread is the first thing you feel when you wake up in the morning, or you're working evenings and weekends to catch up, or you've already beat burnout once, but it's creeping back in, if you answered yes to any of these questions, you are in need for the cure for burnout. Here, Ballesteros offers tried and true strategies to successfully implement with her clients that she has implemented with her clients around the globe to demystify what burnout is for our post-pandemic world and set you on a path for personal and professional balance. I would love balance. Ballesteros outlines 5 areas where you can build healthy habits to combat burnout: mindset, personal care, time management, boundaries, and stress management. The Cure for Burnout provides a holistic method for burnout management to address the epidemic of our always on, chronically overextended culture and empowers us to reclaim control of our lives once and for all. And I'll just leave you with a personal anecdote. The author did a short presentation for in-house folks here, and we was talking about how we're entering the holiday season and how that is stressful and busy for so many people. And she said that so many people are busy making magic for other people during the holidays. And she said, the challenge with that is that you're not making magic for yourself, and you really have to do that. That's how you can combat the burnout in this situation. So if that means getting your favorite treat at a local bakery, or if it means turning on the holiday lights and getting a cup of hot chocolate and sitting just in glorious silence in the glow of the lights for 5 minutes, please do that. It really hit a chord with me, and so I hope that it will be something that helps you as well.
Oh, I love that. And people are already sharing in the comments. Yeah, eggnog.
Love it.
Tell us, yes, tell us how do you make magic? I love all the ideas. Well, for something different, but really fascinating, and I'm so excited to share with you American Woman by Katie Rogers, which is the first definitive exploration of the role of the 21st century First Lady. And it paints a comprehensive portrait of Jill Biden, as well as the evolution of the First Lady's role from a ceremonial figurehead to a political operative. And this comes from, if you know of Katie Rogers, she's a White House correspondent for the New York Times. So a true authority on the subject. And she was the first journalist to interview Jill Biden since she became First Lady. And since the Clinton era, tectonic shifts in media, politics, and pop culture have all redefined expectations of First Ladies, even as the boundaries set upon them have at times remained frustratingly anachronistic. With sharp insights and dozens of firsthand interviews, as I mentioned, with major players in the Biden, Obama, Trump, Bush, and Clinton orbits, including Jill Biden and Hillary Clinton, New York Times White House correspondent Katie Rogers traces from the dawn of the 21st century the evolution of the role of First Lady into a modern power broker with the potential to deliver on behalf of the president, while also painting, as I mentioned, a full portrait of Jill Biden. So lots to discuss here. There's lots of newsworthy nuggets, A-list interviews, and Rogers is such a, great source of this information from her work in the White House and with her interviews and reporting that's covered in this book. And it's really fascinating to talk about. I think another potential book club pick as well, right, to discuss the future of First Women as they go from, we talk about their pantsuits and their policies, and she really examines this dichotomy and how and she even explains why what they wear does indeed matter. So it's really interesting to hear her point of view on all of these things and to also hear from some of these very impactful women themselves.
All right, and then next up, I have The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt. Jonathan Haidt is the New York Times bestselling co-author of The Coddling of the American Mind, which is an essential investigation into the collapse of youth mental health and a scientifically proven path to health and strength. So The Anxious Generation is kind of a continuation of this research. It breaks down why there has been an apparent increase in anxiety, especially among Gen Z, which kind of beginning in 2000. He looks at it beginning in 2009 when Gen Z kind of reached middle school, high school age, and has studied it all through. So he looks at how there's been changes in both technology, as we all know, and there's also been a shift from play-based childhoods to ones defined by over-supervision, structure, and fear. The anxious generation is described as a penetrating and alarming accounting of how we adults began to overprotect children in the real world while essentially giving no protection in the brutal online world. It's not all doom and gloom, though. Those few lines
thank
make it sound
goodness.
very scary. The last section of the anxious generation builds upon this research and actually offers concrete and scientifically based evidence, with separate chapters addressed to parents, schools, universities, governments, and to teens themselves. Jonathan Haidt draws on ancient wisdom and modern psychology to help everyone understand what healthy development should look like in a digital age. As somebody who grew up during this kind of Gen Z era with the onset of social media and new technology and iPhone and all that, I'm really interested in reading this to see how I fall into these archetypes.
And I was just reading the other day, last week, there was an article about like the difference in freedom for kids, how it used to just be you'd open the door and like run out and play, and they would just go do stuff, and it's not like that anymore in the way that it used to be. And that there's like a free let children be free kind of movement of like, how can we get back to that? It was very interesting to read about.
Yeah, I think this will definitely provide some further, scientific backing for that, which will be really,
Yeah,
really interesting.
I'm really interested.
And then next, in a bit of a departure, I have Charlie Hustle, which is a work of narrative nonfiction, chronicling the story of one of America's most iconic and charismatic and polarizing figures, which is baseball player Pete Rose. This offers a cultural history of baseball in the second half of the 20th century in America. So if you are not a baseball fan like myself, maybe you don't know who Pete Rose is, through a little bit of research, sorry.
Elizabeth's going to be very upset.
No, Elizabeth's kids are going to be mad at me. They're going to be like, you can't work with this girl anymore. But so, in case you need any background like I did, in the 1980s, Pete Rose was at the center of one of the biggest scandals in baseball history. And he was kind of magnificently and publicly cast out of the sport for betting on baseball and lying about it. The revelations that followed absolutely ruined Pete. His reputation changed life in Cincinnati and forever altered the game of baseball. Charlie Hustle tells the full story of the rise and fall of Pete Rose, who continues to be one of the best and greatest baseball players of all time. It draws on firsthand interviews with Pete himself, his associates, investigators, FBI agents, court records, and mountains of press coverage. Keith O'Brien chronicles how Pete fell so far from being America's great white hope to being somebody who was totally outcast by his community and by the nation as a whole. So I think this is going to be really interesting, especially with the rise of sports betting right now. This is going to be a really interesting and timely read for anybody who's interested in baseball or interested in kind of meteoric shifts in fame.
And I think you may be right, Kate, that my kids might be like, this might be a problem, especially since the World Series is going on right now.
Oh no.
No, I'm just teasing you, but I think you're absolutely right. I think it's really interesting with the rise in sports betting and all of sort of the scandals that have come and gone in baseball and sports in general. And not just baseball, but soccer and football. And I mean, it's a really interesting thing to have kids who love to play the game and love to watch the game, and teaching them about the intricacies and the not so clean past all the time. So
Yeah,
great book.
100%. All right, and then we have some thrillers for you all. So the first one up is For the Last Time by Heidi Perks. Dark secrets are revealed when a therapist becomes obsessed with her troubled new patients. This is going to be great for fans of The Golden Couple. When couple Aaron and Will walk into Maggie's office for a marriage counseling session, Maggie believes that they are an ordinary couple with ordinary problems. But as Maggie struggles to get the couple to open up about what brought them there, she begins to sense that not all is as it seems. When Erin, the wife in the couple, mentions something connected to Maggie's past that she could not possibly know, Maggie is obviously disturbed and confused. Why does Erin know anything about Maggie's long missing sister? Erin is connected to her somehow, and Maggie is no longer trying to fix the couple's marriage. She's trying to uncover her own truth. Erin and Will may not be what they seem, but neither is Maggie. This is a dual perspective thriller, which I love. I think that's going to be a really interesting way to read the story, and will absolutely keep readers turning pages until the end when the truth comes to light. This is one, even just reading the description, I'm like, what happens next? Like, I need to know. I'm really looking forward to this. I can't wait to read it. And it's going to be great for any fans of thrillers or any fans of mystery. And Elizabeth, I see you're already getting
I know. I saw the Stacey's
with
comment in the
questions.
chat. I know there is so much intrigue online about this next book. It is so, and the movie. It is so much fun. So the next book is Argyle. This is a book filled with Bond-style espionage fun. It's for fans of the Jason Bourne series, The Gray Man, the Jack Ryan series. So Argyle is a globe-trotting spy thriller that inspired the upcoming film Argylle, which will premiere in February of 2024, featuring a star-studded cast: Bryce Dallas Howard, Samuel L. Jackson, John Cena, and directed by Matthew Vaughn. And this is the book that inspired. So we have a luxury train speeding toward Moscow, a CIA plane downed in the jungles of the Golden Triangle, a Nazi horde entombed in the remote mountains of southwest Poland, and a missing treasure, the eighth wonder of the world that's been lost for 7 decades. One Russian magnate's dream of restoring his nation to greatness has set in motion a chain of events which will take the world to the brink of chaos. And only Francis Coffey, the CIA's most legendary spy master, can prevent it. But to do so, she needs someone special. Enter Argyle, a troubled agent with a tarnished past, who may just have the skills to take on the most powerful man in the world, if only he can save himself first. This is just so much fun with all the heisty hijinks you'd want in a thriller, and all the international destinations too, from New York to Monaco, Thailand to Greece, from France to Poland, as Argyle races against the clock to stop a long-lost artifact from falling into the wrong hands and changing the course of history. And as I said, there's tons of online intrigue, and we'll find out everything in February.
Even if it's not written by her,
Come
maybe
on, Elizabeth.
on the soundtrack. How fun would that be?
Oh, that would be. I mean, I have to say I am kind of a Swiftie, so.
You know, me too.
Well, now we've got
It's not
bad
true. I'm
blood
choosing to
because you
believe
didn't
it.
tell us anything. Sorry, I'm gonna think of all the Swiftie puns we can make now. Are you ready for? Or we have to move on. There are lots of time. French
We get
fans
to
waiting.
make
Yes.
Taylor Swift references for hours.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Should we do a Taylor Swift themed morning book buzz?
That would be amazing.
Good idea.
All right.
We'll
Well,
have
next
our
up,
own eras tour of the morning book. You guys
we
have really
all
stuck
need
with
to
us
like
through
come
the
out with the fans and stuff. It'll be great.
But you
Absolutely.
guys, we're gonna have like costumes for those. Right? I'm not gonna let you off the hook if we do.
Yeah, and the props would be.
There were tons of Taylor Swift costumes last night. I don't know if there were in your neighborhood too, but every Taylor Swift costume you could imagine.
I love it. I love it. All right. Well, now I have the Taylor Swift of Irish crime literature, Tana French. Her most recent novel, this is her upcoming novel, obviously, The Hunter. And it's set during a blazing summer in a small village in the west of Ireland when 2 men arrive. One of them is coming home. Both of them are coming to get rich. One of them is going to die. Our main character, Cal Hooper, took an early retirement from the Chicago Police Department and moved to rural Ireland looking for peace. He's found it more or less. He's built a relationship with a local woman named Lena, and he's gradually turning Trey Reddy from a half-feral teenager into a good kid going good places. But then when Trey's long-absent father reappears, bringing along an English millionaire and a scheme to find gold in the area around the town. Suddenly, everything the three of them have built is under threat. Cal and Lena are ready to do whatever it takes to protect Trey, but Trey doesn't want protecting. What he wants is revenge. I'm so excited for this. Tana French is absolutely incredible. I'm also on a bit of an Irish mystery kick at the moment. I just
Are
started
you?
watching Bad Sisters on Apple TV.
Oh, that show was so good.
I'm
Really good.
loving it. I literally started yesterday and watched 4 episodes last night. But I'm really looking forward to this one. It's going to be a really interesting read. And obviously, Tana French is incredible. So,
Well, speaking of incredible, I don't know if all of you, I'm going to reference Day of Dialogue that happened last week again, because if you got to see Chris Bojalian himself talk about his new thriller, I don't know what could top that.
Incredible.
It's such a what?
It's incredible. I mean, he was incredible. Yeah.
So lovely, and it was such a great conversation with fellow writers, and it's so nice to get to hear those kind of behind the scenes thriller writer chats. And so I highly recommend, if you haven't seen that, to go back and take a watch. But his next book, The Princess of Las Vegas, is really perfect for fans of the TV shows Hacks and The Crown. It's kind of a great combo of those two interests, which I loved. And of course, Hacks gives you a behind the scenes look of like what it's like to be in Las Vegas. And so in this case, the princess is fake, but the murders are real. And so, of course, it goes without saying, Chris Bojalian's the New York Times bestselling author of The Flight Attendant and The Lioness. And in his next book, a Princess Diana impersonator and her estranged sister find themselves drawn into a dangerous game of money and murder in a twisting tale of organized crime, cryptocurrency, and family secrets that all takes place on the Las Vegas Strip. And so you're going to meet Chrissy Dowling, and she's created a world that suits her perfectly. I love this life. She passes her days by the pool in a private cabana. She splurges on ice cream, but never gains an ounce. And each evening she transforms into a princess, performing her musical cabaret inspired by the life of the late Diana Spencer. Some might find her strange or even delusional. She's an American speaking with a British accent. She has her hair feathered into a style that's 30 years old, and she lives and works in a casino that has become a dated trash heap. And on top of all that, her daily diet of Adderall and Valium leaves her more than a little tipsy, and her senator boyfriend has gone back to his wife, and her entire career rests on resembling a dead woman. And yet fans see her for the gifted chameleon that she is, showering her with gifts and letters and standing ovations night after night. But when Chrissy's sister Betsy arrives in town with a new boyfriend and a teenage daughter, and when Richie Morley, the owner of the Buckingham Palace casino, is savagely murdered, Chrissy's carefully constructed kingdom comes crashing down all around her. So I cannot wait to share this with all of you. If you haven't gotten a read on it yet, you have to request it. Chris is just a master of thriller writing, and he gives us the seedy underbelly of Las Vegas as only the locals see it. And the heroine's just so fascinating, and it's just got so many intriguing parts of this plot, and then the modern angle of cryptocurrency, and I just think it's a great thriller that your patrons are absolutely going to love, in addition to how much they already love Chris Bojalian.
And another fun book coming up, How to Solve Your Own Murder. I love that title. This is a really fun and feel-good mystery for fans of the Thursday Murder Club and The Maid, and for viewers of Only Murders in the Building and Knives Out. It is 1965, and teenager Frances Adams is at an English country fair with her two best friends. But the night takes a hairpin turn when a fortune teller makes a bone-chilling prediction. One day, Frances will be murdered. So then, Frances spends the rest of her lifetime trying to solve a crime that hasn't happened yet, compiling dirt on every person who crosses her path in an effort to prevent her own demise. For decades, no one takes Frances seriously until 60 years later, when Frances is found murdered, as she always knew she would be. So then we shift to the present day. Annie Adams has been summoned to a meeting at the sprawling country estate of her wealthy and reclusive great aunt Frances. But by the time Annie arrives in the quaint English village of Castle Knoll, Frances is already dead. Annie is determined to catch the killer, but can she safely unravel the dark mystery? Or will dredging up the past throw her into the path of a killer? As Annie gets closer to the truth and closer to danger, she starts to fear that she might inherit her aunt's fate instead of her aunt's fortune. The novel is so much fun, and it is the start of a brand new series. So for all of you who love those, feel good mysteries, this is the one for you.
I'm in. That sounds so intriguing, and I need to know what happened. Tell us everything. So, Lisa Scottolini, again, I feel like needs very little introduction to this lovely librarian audience. And I think this is definitely a case where she's as big a fan of yours as you are of her. She loves libraries and librarians so much, and she is the master of the psychological suspense standalone. And this is absolutely going to delight all of her fans. And I think someone who's thinking about trying her is going to want to jump right in. The Truth About the Devlins is another domestic thriller about family, justice, and the lies that tear us apart. TJ Devlin's the charming disappointment in the prominent Devlin family, all of whom are lawyers at their highly successful firm, except for him. But after a stint in prison and rehab for alcoholism, TJ can't get hired anywhere except at the family firm. So he takes the job of investigator. But one night, TJ's world turns upside down after his older brother, John, confesses that he just murdered one of the clients in self-defense, an accountant that he confronted with proof of embezzlement. And it seems impossible coming from John, the firstborn son and the most valuable Devlin. So TJ plunges into the investigation, seizing the chance to prove his worth and save his brother. But in no time, TJ and John find themselves entangled in a lethal web of deception and murder, and TJ will fight to save his family, but what he learns might break them first. So we're just so thrilled to bring Lisa back to the list here for spring. And also audiobook fans will be thrilled to know that Eduardo Ballerini is returning to narrate, who Lisa also loves as well. And he's a fabulous narrator. And this is going to be another amazing thriller that everyone's going to be talking about. And we're just at time. I did want to just reshare. Audiobooks are not cheating. We've got a lot of great items that you might want to share at your library to help spread the word, from posters to bookmarks. And we hope that you'll sign up if you're interested in sharing them with your patrons. And that's our book buzz for today. Happy November. And
And we
sad,
hope to see
sad
you at
to
the festival in December, and we'll see you
yes,
back at Morning Book Buzz in 2024 in January.
it was
So we
very
hope you
sad to
have
say
a
that.
Sounds
wonderful
crazy.
holiday season, and we'll see you in the new year.
Thank you all for
Thank
joining.
you. Thanks for tuning in for this 2023 season again. We are so grateful to you all. And don't forget to tell us what books you're grateful for. You can tweet it at us or email it to us. We always love to hear from you. And thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Thanks again. Bye all.